Welcome to the fourth episode of Founder Journey. In this episode, we'll explore everything you need to know, I believe, and I think even more than you need to know about leverage. My name is Matteo Cassese, and I help entrepreneurs turn problems into growth. And this is Founder Journey. Founder Journey is my way of giving you a practical, hands-on mindset course that's available for free on the internet. Let's get into it. Now, there's four ways that usually leverage is split in the business world. There's the leverage of ideas, leverage through people, leverage through systems, and leverage through money. Now, most of the time we think about the leverage through money because of compound interest, etc. And we believe very much in the leverage of systems. Let's say the Industrial Revolution was such that we started seeing that the factory was like this system that would create value in the market. But we also seen it very much with software. Software has been revolutionary. And we know that moving ideas and moving people are very, very strong. So how do we transform these into something practical that we can do? Well, I believe that if based on these four types of business leverage, you can have four characters as an entrepreneur. Now, the first character, I call it the Mythmaker. How convenient. I am the Mythmaker. I am the founder of Mythmaker. And so the most important part in my leverage journey is to tell you who a Mythmaker is. And a Mythmaker is this kind of world builder, brand builder. It creates influence and it creates this sense of community and belonging because we're wearing a certain brand or we are identifying with a certain type of ideology or religion. You have to imagine that, yes, Mythmakers are the creators of systems of beliefs, the creators of brands. And just to give you some examples, what are some famous entrepreneurs who I identify as Mythmakers? Like Ferrari, that arguably is one of the most precious, most important brands in the world, or Chanel, Walt Disney, Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart. These are all characters that are able to create a world for other people to live in. So where we use their brands or their systems or the organizations that they create, and we strongly identify with those. And obviously, just think of the most powerful brands, the most powerful movements, the most powerful religions. These are usually started by Mythmakers. Now, the second that I've chosen to talk to you about is the group guru. Now, the group guru instead is dealing with influence, with partnerships. It's dealing with sales, with trust, with collaboration. And these are also forms of leverage because if I get people to trust me, or if I can create a network effect and I can influence people, I can get those ideas out in the world. And what do these people look like? They look like Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, the founders of social networks. For instance, Sheryl Sandberg or Richard Branson, getting different businesses together, getting different people together, gathering different causes together. Now, there's the one form of leverage that everybody is talking about is the one of the logic legend. That is leveraging systems, automation, software, data, efficiency. Now, this is something that is very hot. It's been very hot. It's going to be very hot. I don't think that vibe coding or AI will take anything away from the logic legends. And here, that's where most entrepreneurs that we consider like they're famous right now, they sit here like the Satya Nadellas, the Page and Brin, Zuckerberg, Jensen Huang, Sam Altman. So these are all the entrepreneurs that we cherish, you'll notice there's a few omission in this list. You know, the other famous people we'll talk about in a second. And I don't want you to think about this just in terms of software. It's much more than software. It's more like leveraging systems in general and logic in general to create something that generates, well, leverage is about generating more value than you could generate just with pure effort. I think that's maybe I was missing a definition of leverage. And now let's talk about money leverage. But I think the Wealth Wizard is not just about money leverage, but it's about assets. And it's also about sustainability and well-being, in the sense that, for instance, modern capitalism is realizing is that if we don't have a planet in 20, 30 years, if the planet is not inhabitable, that decreases the business opportunities in general, for the economy. And so they're starting to become quite in tune with the sustainability. And the well-being, this is something that is really emerging, and it is emerging with AI, is that maybe the most important thing is not success, it's not having this kind of automatic money machine that through the power of compound interest grows and grows and grows and grows, while we as human beings, stay flat or even go down. But probably this idea of well-being is the thing that we need to thrive in the future, especially if the current promise of AI is fulfilled and everything becomes much easier. For instance, Tim Cook, the big difference between Steve Jobs and Tim Cook is that Tim Cook works with resources. It doesn't work with innovation per se. And it's transforming Apple in something different. And it's the difference between Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer. When Steve came on board, everything changed. And that's interesting. It's interesting about Microsoft that we went from Bill the inventor, Bill the Mythmaker and the logic legend in a way. Well, actually, let me correct that. So Microsoft went from Bill Gates, creator of software, to Steve Ballmer, and now to Satya. So look, there's quite a difference in the management style of the three kings of Microsoft. And who are the ones that have generated more value? The logic legend and the Mythmaker. How interesting. What are the characters that straddle the different parts of these graphs? Because I haven't talked about Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, because they are actually combining the two, the Mythmaker and the logic legend. They have this very strong innovation intuition, but also they have this very strong communication capability. Some for good, some for bad, who knows which one, but anyway, this is what they look like. And there are some extraordinary entrepreneurs that are connecting systems and wealth, like the famous inventor of Bitcoin or Jeff Bezos. And so there are some of these entrepreneurs that have these superpowers that kind of come together. Now, what does it look like to apply this leverage? Because one thing is just, this is the definition of this leverage. But to apply this leverage for a mythmaker, it means to use stories, to leverage stories. And these stories, you can leverage them. We don't have time to go too much in detail with this, but leave comments if you want me to do a video about this. But one thing is creating stories that transform into symbols. Think about brands. And then these symbols become ways of being, rituals. And these ways of being become ways of belonging, of identifying oneself. So starting from a story, starting from the idea, we are changing how human beings perceive themselves. The power of the Mythmaker is huge. The Group Guru deals with people, and people want to collaborate, trust, and finally get new ideas and get influenced by these new ideas. You can see how the Group Guru and the Mythmaker, they kind of can work together, because a story without some people that are ready to listen to that story, it's not a good story at all. And a group of people without collaboration, without trust, it doesn't really work. But the final leverage is influence. It's when your ideas start to have an audience. That's where you can start creating networks of people and trust. Now, for the logic legend, the fuel is not stories, is not people, it's problems. And that is quite beautiful. There's somebody who thrives. The more problems you throw at them, the better they live. And what they do is that they go from the problem to the solution, from the solution to building a system around that solution, and from that system to scaling that solution. They might stop either place because scale is really not human. It's not a very human destination. It's a very businessy thing to do. But this is where they work. And instead, the wealth wizard is, I think, they're not dealing with money. They are gambling with the future. So what they have is this long-term look. And in this long-term look, obviously they want growth, they want to leverage capital, they want to also sustain the planet, sustain the growth, and finally leave a legacy in the longest possible term. Now, these are the ways of business leverage, but what about you? Where are you in all of this? Because I do believe that in all of this, there was something missing. It's like, I'm telling you that you are, in this kind of pie, you are somewhere. And basically, I can tell you, I am very much like here, the Mythmaker, and I have a little bit of wealth wizard in me, but my logic legend and my group guru are very, very underdeveloped. So this is more or less how I look like. And I invite you to sketch this for yourself, just to figure out how you express your leverage. But this is not you, because your why is you. So let's look at a more personal way, and this is, very, very debatable, that I think that we as human, and there is correspondence between the previous definition and this definition, are either explorers, healers, keepers, or builders. Let me tell you what I mean by this. So let's explore. The explorer wants to discover, is curious, wants to research, wants to travel, is tempted by new things. And I want you to think about the explorer, like Marie Curie or Amelia Earhart or Charles Darwin. They really want to know more. They are thirsty. It's a thirst that drives the explorer. Now, the healer is a slightly different beast because they thrive in relationship, in belonging, in connection, in harmony, togetherness, and they want to preserve the group. And so we have characters like the Princess Di or the Dalai Lama or Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela. And here the drive is we are important. In the explorer, the future, new ideas, curiosity is important. Here there's a very big definition that it's the we that matters. The keeper instead is kind of the conservation expert here. It wants stability, continuity, self-preservation, security, logic, systems thinking. It's similar to the logic legend, but it's not an innovator. The explorer and the builder are the innovators. The healer and the keeper are the ones that are keeping everything together. And here the examples are, the software people of the world, Warren Buffett, Winston Churchill, or organizing everything, Marie Kondo. And the builders have a great relationship with the explorers. They're creators, designers, storytellers, craft people like Steven Spielberg or Frida Kahlo. And I think you have to imagine that in all of these gaps, there's slightly different combination of different categories and how they look like. And this is what they look like as a whole. I want you to reflect on this, but I don't want you to accept this at face value. I want you to push back because we really don't need another framework. We have enough frameworks. And I don't think that you should use this right now. I think you should use this at your own risk, because you might be a square peg and you might not fit that round hole that we are presenting. You're not one of 8. You're not limited by these 8 possibilities. These are 8 directions where stuff can happen for you in your life. And I don't want anything to be externally imposed in your life. I want everything to be inside out and not, I guess, outside in, like this news ticker that these guys are reading. So I think also that not everybody should have leverage, and not everybody is looking for leverage. Some people are looking for their craft, and that's perfectly fine, and there's absolutely no blame. Maybe I should have started with this. This is maybe the most important point. And when I talk about this, I usually get the pushback like, oh, nobody is a wealth wizard. They're evil. We don't want them. They're like the source of all problems. But actually, when people realize that the wealth wizard is about the future and that the end game is not money per se, but the fact that money is leverage, then they kind of see things differently. Okay, this was Founder Journey. You can find the Founder Journey work in the here below. There's a link. There you'll find all of the slides and exercises and activities that you can do to follow along in the journey. And in the next step, we will really get into the journey. So we're gonna step into this spiral and explore the journey. See you in the next one.